brown, green with yellow stripe, and then a solid green. Now what we want to do is we want to concentrate it just on the brown wire right now. So go ahead and do that, and we'll continue on. Oh, go ahead and strip about, cut these maybe 5 inches long. Okay, in your kit you should have some brown wire and 3 large butt splices. They're just those round tubular looking things. Make sure you use the large one, not the small ones that we supply in the other parts. So it should be in a separate bag. So what I want you to do is I want you to just cut the couple of pieces about 6 inch long of the brown wire, and let's go ahead and strip the ends off, about 1/2 inch of the insulation off on 2 brown wires like that, and then the brown wire coming out of this connector. And what we're going to do is we're going to join all 3 of those together with the butt connector. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, what I've done is I've held all 3 wires together like that in my fingers, and I've twisted the wires together nice and tight. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and snip these off so that they're nice and flush. You don't want too much of this wire going into the butt connector. I'd say maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. And then go ahead and slide your large butt connector over there. Make sure that it goes over the tube really nice and clean, no little wires sticking out. And then go ahead and give that a real good crimp. Just crimp it really heavy, because you don't want those wires to pull out. Okay, and there we've got it. What we've got is we've got the brown wire coming out of the connector, then the 2 other wires fastened to it. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll make sure this is nice and tight. All 3 wires are nice and tight. Give you extra butt connectors in case you have to redo it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and fasten this to the tail light. There's the tail light. And what I've done on this, I've snipped these wires off the end of the tail light, maybe 4 inches or so. And then what we want to do now is, it's really important that you kind of follow this closely. Most important, you want to slide your about a 2-inch piece of heat shrink down over the brown wires, like that, before you use the butt connector to connect this black wire. Then when you're finished, you can slide that back over and heat shrink it. So anyway, go ahead and do that. Slide the heat shrink on first, and then go ahead and strip the wire off the black wire. Now it's the black wire coming out of your tail light, and you want to butt splice that to the brown wires that you just did, just like that. And then go ahead and crimp that, give it a real good crimp, and then we'll slide that over and heat shrink that on there. Okay, now the most important wire coming out of your tail light is the solid green ground wire that we put on the. It's mounted on the bolt on the tail light itself. That's your ground wire. That's the most important wire of all, because that's the one that you don't want to hook up wrong. Otherwise, you'll blow a fuse in your bike. So anyway, it will be the plastic insulated solid green wire, not the braided wire. The braided wire is the hot wire. So it's the solid insulated plastic insulated green wire. We're going to go ahead and fasten it to the solid green wire coming out of the connector here. So do the same thing. Slide your insulation or your heat shrink over the green wire first, and then go ahead and connect those with a small butt connector. Now these are the small butt connectors. From now on, you won't use any more large ones, I don't think. So anyway, do that, and then we'll slide this back over that. And we don't need to heat shrink this right now. We'll do that in a minute. Okay, and there we have it. Now it's really important that you double check all this stuff, because if something's wrong, it'll blow a fuse. So anyway, the last one I did was the green wire, the green braided wire to the green and yellow striped wire. What that is, let me explain these real quickly, because this will make more sense to you. Okay, the solid green going to the green wire fastened to the tail light, the plastic coated one, is your ground. The green and yellow going to the green braided wire is your brake light. And then the brown wire going to the black wire on your tail light is the tail light itself. It's not the brake light. And then these 2 wires coming off here. Now you'll notice here I've gone ahead and crimped the little female connectors that are also involved in the kit there. Just go ahead. They can offset them like that too. That's no big deal. Go ahead and strip the ends and give those a real good crimp too, because what they are is they will also be the running lights on your bullet lights on the back. So that's why all this is necessary, because what we want the tail light wire, which is the brown, to also run the running lights on the bullet lights. So once you get that all finished up, we should be able to feed all that through there and hook this bad boy up. Okay, now it's fun because we can go ahead and mount our light to our bracket here and go ahead and feed the wires up through the bike like I'll show you here in a minute. Anyway, I've put a little Loctite on these screws here, the mounting screws. And then, okay, if you'll notice, the dual lamp is to the top. The white light is at the bottom. Okay, the wires come out and they go through this hole in the bracket here. You can see that. And there's the ground wire there. So go ahead and snug your light on there and then run the wires through that hole. And then I'll go ahead and show you where they go on the bike here. Okay, for now I'm just going to run them behind the bracket there, and I'm going to run them up to the area in your motorcycle there, where the plug-in is. Okay, and then you can see it. I've plugged the white connector into the white outlet on the bike. And these are your two brown wires left over. These will be ready for your bullet lights here in a minute. So go ahead and plug that in, and then hopefully if everything's wired up properly, the light will come on. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the key on. And there you have it. The tail light is on. Now, one thing to double check, make sure that the light is down below here. This should shine down on your license plate. So this is the tail light, and then when you push the brake lever, the brake light should come on. So there you have it. Don't worry about tucking your wires in right now. We'll go ahead and do that in just a minute after we do the bullet lights. Let's get those done. Okay, you're getting to be a wiring expert here, so this will be real easy, the bullet lights. So let's go ahead and do those real quick. Okay, if you'll notice, they're laying on the bench here. Now what you do is you go ahead and splice the two 12-inch long brown wires that are in your lighting kit there. These are the brown wires here. Splice those onto the black wires coming out of the bullet lights. You've done that before now, so it should be real easily. So go ahead and do that. Heat shrink them on. Heat shrink those, and then we'll continue on. Next, go ahead and grab these two connectors off from your signal lights on the stock bike. There's a blue one and an orange one. And then go ahead and snip those wires off about 9 inches or so there, just like that. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll hook these up to the bullets. Okay, I've hooked these up. Don't forget to slide your heat shrink on before you do your butt connectors. One thing too, on the small little teeny red wire coming out of the lights, sometimes I'll double those over so they'll fill the butt connector a little bit. So anyway, now most important is you've got the green ground wire, which is fastened to the eyelet on the signal light. That's the most important wire. Make sure you hook the green wire to the green wire. And then on this one, we'll go the orange to the red. And on the other bullet, it's the same thing. Most important, green to green. And then we'll go ahead and hook the blue wire to the red wire. But the most important wire of all is the green to the green. That's the ground, and that will blow a fuse if you don't get that right. So go ahead and hook those up just like you've done before. And we'll go ahead and then what you can do after you do this, you can go ahead and plug these into your bike right now and check them. Make sure when you plug them in, make sure you're getting a good connection on your ground there. You don't need to tighten the bolt, but just make sure it's getting a good connection. And when you plug these in and test them, you'll have the signal light only. So check your signals, and then you won't have the running light yet, but we'll go ahead and check that in a minute. So do that, and then we'll continue on here. Now that I've tested these lights, I'm going to go ahead and put the piece of heat shrink on the over the outside of the wires. This is the larger heat shrink. There should be two 11-inch pieces in your kit there. So go ahead and just slide those over the wires and heat shrink those onto the wires. Be sure and leave about inch and a half exposed wires on this end. Whatever you do, don't run that up too tight because we have to back that off and put them on the bike. So that's what it should look like. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can install these rascals on the bike. Okay, let's mount the lights on the brackets. There's a hole in the bracket, and then it has a little slot on the back here. What you do is you just take the bolt out of the light like that. It just takes a little bit, and then you slide these wires through the slot. Make sure that the serrated star washer on the outside of the bracket. What that does is that kind of locks the light, so you don't have to tighten this bolt up so much when you tighten up and position them. And then I like to put a little oil on these bolts too, and it'll allow the ground wire to swivel a little bit on the washer there. So when you tighten it, the ground wire won't rotate so much. So go ahead and mount the lights onto the motorcycle like that, and then I'll go ahead and show you how to run all your wires. Oh, and you don't get too carried away on mounting them solid yet, because you will want to angle these when you get the seat bracket on later. So just snug these up a little bit by hand, just for right now. Okay, this is the right side. You'll notice I've run the wires through and up above the bolt here, and then I've run them down below this little bulge right here. And I put a wire tie right there just to hold those in place, right around this. And then I put a wire tie around here. You want to run this wire under this round brace right here. Run that under there, and then through the other side, and I've put a wire tie there. And I'll go ahead and show you the other side. Okay, this is the taillight side. You'll notice on the taillight bracket I've run the taillight wire up through here, and I've wire tied to these two holes here. That makes it nice and neat and tidy. And then I've run the taillight wire under this bolt here and down around. And then the signal light is the same as the right side. I've run it up above here, put the wire tie here, and then run it under this brace again, and kind of run it over toward the where it connects there. So I'll go ahead and show you how we finish that up. Okay, we've finished them up here. There's a wire tie. We left you two holes here to wire tie this to the bracket too. That'll make it nice and clean looking, the taillight wire. And then if you'll notice here, I've run the wires, like I say, under this brace and then behind it here. And if you'll notice how I ran this wire in here. Okay, now you want to go ahead and when you get this all mounted in here, oh, by the way, there's a wire tie right there to kind of hold them in place too. Okay, you've got your two brown wires. Now this is the time you want to go ahead and crimp your male end onto the wire here, and then when you get it all done up, you can plug those in. Just plug both of them in like that. And then, oh, by the way, if you ever unplug these, I grab them with the pliers here and here and pull them out. That way you won't pull the wires out of the connector. And I've laid them in there nice and flat like that. Because later on you'll want to lay the seat pan on here, and you want all this stuff to be below the surface here. So, okay, if you plug those brown wires in, we should have our lights all hooked up. You can turn the key on. It's best to plug wires in while the key is off too, by the way. You might blow a fuse if you plug a wire in with the key on. So anyway, let's turn them on. And there we have it. Okay, now the reason for all this is, let me explain it to you. Okay, if you're looking at night at the back of this motorcycle, and these aren't running lights, if these are just signal lights only, what happens is when you're turning left, it almost makes you look like you're turning right because this signal light is a little bit to the right side of the tail light. So that's why it's nice to run these as signal lights and tail lights. So go ahead and double check them. They should be on. And then hit your switch, and you should have signal lights. Make sure everything works. Tail light, brake light. And wow, that's pretty cool, isn't it? So there you have it. Go ahead and double check everything and tuck everything in, and then we'll, when we put the seat pan on, we'll do the final adjustments on the little bullet lights. It's done, thank goodness, huh? Let's go ahead and hook up our front signal lights now. I'm going to leave this chart here for a minute for you so you can write this down because it might be a little easier when you go to hooking up your wires. Anyway, if you'll notice on the left side, it's your these are the colors of the wires coming out of your light. We put the green ground wire on there for you. And then you want to, when you get to hooking them up, you want to hook the green to the green. And then the black wire coming out of your signal light will go to the white striped wire. It'll either be a blue with a white stripe or an orange with a white stripe. And then the red wire coming out of the light will either go to the solid orange or the solid blue wire. So write that down if you want, and then we'll continue on. I'll leave this here for just a minute. Grab your front signal light bar and undo these two screws right here, and then this end will pull out. And then that, when you pull that out, the wires will be attached. I disconnected mine now, but the wires will be attached to that. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll snip those babies off. Okay, go ahead and snip the wires off right here close to the rubber mount there. And then you can either pull the covering that they had on the wires off, or you can leave that on there and strip the ends off like this. I leave about 2.5 inches or so. Or you can go ahead and put a new piece of heat shrink that we supply in your kit. But you want to leave it like that, a little extra without heat shrink there, and then about 2 or 3 inches there without the heat shrink. Do that on both wires. Okay, our next step here is to, we're going to fasten the light to the stock wires. There's the connector on the end there. So what you want to do on this, it's real simple. I'm going to lower the stand so you can see a little bit better. Okay, what I've done is I've cut the wires from the light off, all 3 wires, to about 4 inches from the base of the light to the where I cut it. That's about 100 centimeters, or millimeters, excuse me, 100 millimeters. Excuse the metric stuff there. Anyway, okay, and then what I've done is I've used the butt splicers supplied in your kit, and I've spliced these wires here. Now, if you'll notice, before you splice these, you'll have to put your heat shrink on each wire before you splice these. Otherwise, you can't run this back over there and heat shrink it on there. So, and then if you'll notice the colors, I've got the green going to the green, and then I've got the black wire going to the striped wire. That'll be on all the time, is what that is. And then I've got the red wire going to the solid orange. On the other side, it would be a solid blue. So I've used the butt splices there. I've butt spliced those together. A lot of times what I'll do on these 2 lights coming out of the 2 wires coming out of the signal light itself are really small. So sometimes I'll double those over where they go into the butt splicers. It'll kind of fill the butt splice up a little bit. So anyway, go ahead and crimp those like that. And this wire here is the full length that you cut off. And then we'll go ahead and heat shrink those on there. Make sure they're good and tight. Okay, I'm going to heat shrink these on here. Make sure all 3 splicers are on the wires where you want them. And I do them all at once, because if you try to do one at a time, you'll just shrink the one and it'll automatically shrink the other next to it and won't be in place. So go ahead and shrink those up like that. You can either use a heat gun or a hair blower dryer works. It just takes a little longer. And then make sure they're nice and on there. I didn't burn a little hole through somewhere where it might short out. So make sure they look real good, and then we can go ahead and install these on the bike. Go ahead and do both sides. Okay, I'm going to test these lights before I actually feed the wires up through the light and everything. So go ahead and plug them in, and then make sure the ground wires are fastened to the, or at least touching the light, otherwise they won't come on. So anyway, make sure when they're on like this, they're the same brightness. One's not brighter than the other. If it is, then the red and black wires are switched, so you'll have to start all over and redo those, because they should be on, but not as bright as when you hit the signal light. And then when you hit the signal light, they should blink really brightly. There's that one, and then there's that one. So these look good, so everything's okay. I'm going to go ahead and hook these bad boys up. Let's go ahead and hook the right signal up first. Now the right side is the blue one, so go ahead and, if you can, get that blue one first. Okay, what you do is you just you undo the bolt here like this, and then okay, it leaves the wires exposed. Now what you want to do is you want to leave the serrated washer. That's called a star washer. You want to leave that to the outside of the bracket, and then the ground wire and the washer and everything on the inside. The reason for that star washer is it's cool because it kind of digs into the bracket there, so you don't have to over tighten these screws when you put the lights in. These are hollow, and if you over tighten them you could break them, so that's just a nice little thing to keep it from rotating on there. So anyway, you just slide the wires up into that little slot, and then go ahead and run the bolt into the light, and just snug them up right now. We're going to have to adjust them a little bit, so just run that in there and then we'll continue on. Okay, now we can run our wires up into the headlight housing. Now I found it's easier to go ahead and take the bolt out of the back here and swivel the headlight up just a little bit. That way you can feed the wires down under this track and through this square hole in here, and then up under this bracket and then up into the housing. It's a little easier. You may want to try it without, but I did it that way, and then I fed both wires up into the housing. So you can go ahead and put that back down there and hook the bolt through, and then we'll hook them up. Now before we go any further, I forgot myself, so it's really important that you change the lenses on these lights to the amber or the yellow color. In every state, I think it's illegal to run red lights on the front, so make sure you change the lens to amber or yellow colored. It's in your kit there. If you have a hard time, you take the little screw out of the inside here, and if you have a hard time prying that lens out, just take a big plier and twist it out a little bit. It just pushes in there and then tightens in with the little screw there. So go ahead and change those, and then be careful when you're snugging these bolts, these nuts up on the back, or the bolt on the back. It's a hollow bolt, and you don't need to get it too tight because of that star washer holds it. So just snug those in place. I like the lights to be parallel to the ground. I think it looks a little better. I see a lot of guys, they angle them up, and it doesn't look quite as right to me. So, but you can, it's up to your own discretion on that. So when you get all this set, these 2 little holes here are for wire ties. And they should be in your wiring kit there. So go ahead and wire tie your wires underneath. Make sure you look from both sides to make sure you can't see wires hanging out. That'd be kind of ugly. So Anyway, there you have it. Double check them one more time. They will flash really bright and fast if you don't have your real lights on. They'll slow down once you get your real lights hooked up. So anyway, there you have it. They look great. Okay, let's go ahead and do our drag bars on our Honda Aero here. If you'll notice, these are the older style and they don't have the risers, so this is the riser that we supply. Now, the large washer on the bottom here is the washer that came off the bottom of the stock bar. And if you'll notice, this is the way it mounts on the motorcycle. The counter bore is on the bottom, that's real important. Then the little chamfered edge will go on the top next to the clamp. Now when you install this, what you want to do is you want that thread to go all the way up in that hole, but you don't want it to go inside the hole. So it's important that it kind of goes all the way up but doesn't go inside the hole. We may later on want to add a washer here. And then the other thing is, you'll notice these clamps are offset. There's a bigger gap in the back than the front. When you mount those on the bike, put the gap in the back. That's to guarantee that you'll get a real good clamping action on that. So anyway, and then you'll notice I'm doing the motorcycle with the tank off. That's the best way to go. Now if you're going to do the bike with the tank on, be sure and put a towel over the tank like that. Protect your paint and your tank, because what happens is when this handlebar swivels over, you can hit the tank right here. And you don't want that to do that, because you'd actually put a dent in the tank. So that's another thing I do, is I make sure I angle the bars up a lot when I'm first putting them on, and then angle them down when you do your final adjustment. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing we'll do is remove the mirrors. And then before you take the clutch lever off, there's two little wires here that you'll unplug. That's the wires going to the clutch lever. You can go ahead and unplug those. And then you take these two screws out here, and that'll undo that cap. And that'll allow your clutch lever to fall down. And then this is your switch housing here. That has a Phillips screw on the bottom, on two Phillips screws on the bottoms. Just go ahead and undo those Phillips screws, and that'll split apart, and you can go ahead and remove that. And then on the right side, same thing on the, you have two little wires coming out of the underneath here. Go ahead and unplug those before you remove your master cylinder here. And then you just go ahead and remove those two screws there, and your brake lever and your master cylinder will go ahead and release from the handlebar, and you can let that dangle down there. And then the last thing we'll do is the throttle. Hold on, and we'll do that next.